vanished in the night. A chilling disappearance mystery. The night she never came home. It was just after 10:47 p.m. when the last security camera caught Emma Lawson alive. The footage showed her silver Toyota Camry pulling out of a grocery store parking lot in the quiet town of Hawthorne, Oregon. The streets were empty, the air thick with coastal fog. She had texted her fiancé, "On my way home." She never arrived. By morning, her car was found abandoned near a forest preserve. Doors locked, headlights off, and her purse still in the passenger seat. But her phone was gone. There were no footprints, no signs of struggle, and no witnesses. Detective Daniel Rourke, a 20-year veteran of the Hawthorne Police Department, was assigned to the case. He'd seen dozens of disappearances before, runaways, kidnappings, domestic disputes, but something about this one felt different. The car's engine was still warm when officers found it. The driver's seat was adjusted for someone taller than Emma. When Rourke opened the trunk, he noticed faint scratches on the inner latch, as if someone had tried to claw their way out. The next day, the town of Hawthorne erupted with fear. Posters with Emma's photo lined every cafe window and lamppost. Her fiancé, Mark Walters, made tearful appeals on local news. "She was everything to me," he said, voice shaking. "Please, if anyone knows where she is, just bring her home." But as detectives looked closer at Mark's story, cracks began to appear. Mark claimed Emma left the store around 10:30 p.m. and was headed home to their apartment 5 miles away. Yet phone records showed his number had pinged near the forest where her car was found, 30 minutes before police discovered it. When questioned, Mark insisted he went looking for her after she stopped replying to his messages. But Detective Rourke noticed something strange. Mark's car tires were spotless, even though the forest road was still muddy from the night's rain. Meanwhile, Emma's best friend Rachel revealed another layer to the mystery. Emma had confided in her just days before disappearing. She said she was scared, Rachel told detectives. She said someone was following her after work, that she kept seeing the same black SUV parked outside the dental clinic where she worked. Security footage from the clinic confirmed it. A black SUV, appearing 3 nights in a row at 8 p.m., headlights off, engine running. The plates were partially obscured by mud. Then came the first real breakthrough. A park ranger discovered Emma's phone 3 miles into the forest, face down in the mud. The screen was cracked, but the last photo she took was intact. A blurry image of headlights behind her, captured at 10:48 p.m., moments before she vanished. The metadata placed the photo just a quarter mile from where her car was later found. Detective Rourke studied the image for hours, magnifying it, adjusting light filters. Then he saw it. A faint reflection in the rear-view mirror of Emma's car. A man's silhouette. It wasn't Mark Walters. Rourke froze, leaning closer to the monitor. The man was wearing a hooded jacket, but what made his blood run cold was a faint outline of a police badge glinting against his chest. He checked the department's roster. No one on duty that night matched the build. Someone was impersonating an officer. And whoever that man was, he was the last person Emma Lawson ever saw alive. The man with the badge. The morning after Emma's phone was found, the Hawthorne Police Department turned into a war room. Maps lined the walls, red strings connecting sighting reports, vehicle logs, and cell tower pings. Detective Daniel Rourke stood in the middle of it all, running on black coffee and adrenaline. The reflection in the photo haunted him. The badge, the hood, the empty eyes hidden in darkness. Whoever that man was, he knew procedure well enough to mimic law enforcement. The question was why. Rourke called in a favor from forensic analyst Dana Wu, the department's tech wizard. She enhanced the image, pixel by pixel. A number emerged on the fake badge, number 3127. Rourke's stomach sank. That number hadn't been active since 2013. Badge number 3127 belonged to Officer Eric Nolan, a patrolman who vanished 10 years earlier after being implicated in a corruption scandal, a case that was quietly sealed before trial. Officially, Nolan had resigned. Unofficially, rumors said he'd been part of a trafficking ring that stretched across 3 states. And now his badge was back. That afternoon, detectives combed through the forest again. The rain had erased most footprints, but a sharp-eyed K9 handler found tire tracks, fresh and deep, leading off the access road toward an abandoned ranger cabin. When Rourke arrived, the cabin door creaked open under his flashlight. Inside, the smell hit him first: mildew, gasoline, and something faintly metallic. A single chair sat in the center of the room. On the wall opposite it, someone had pinned newspaper clippings. Every article was about missing women, and in the middle of them, Emma Lawson's smiling face. Pinned just beneath it was a Polaroid photo. It showed a woman tied to a chair, her eyes open, terrified. The timestamp read March 12th, 2023, 10:49 p.m., 1 minute after Emma's last photo. Rourke stepped back, his pulse hammering. "This isn't random," he muttered. "He's done this before." The next 48 hours turned into a storm of evidence processing. The Polaroid was printed on expired film stock, traced to a photography supply shop in Portland. The store security footage showed a man buying multiple packs 2 weeks earlier. The image was grainy, but enough to see a tall, broad figure wearing a police jacket with badge number 3127. They ran the plates on every black SUV registered in a 50-mile radius. Only one stood out: a 2015 Chevy Tahoe, recently sold in cash under a fake name. The VIN traced back to a vehicle once owned by the Hawthorne Police Department. Someone inside the system had helped cover the trail. Meanwhile, Emma's fiancé, Mark Walters, became increasingly erratic. He called the station daily, demanding updates, crying on camera, holding vigils. But his phone records revealed something curious: a string of late-night calls to a prepaid number, the same number that pinged near the abandoned ranger cabin the night Emma vanished. When detectives brought him in again, Rourke noticed a tremor in Mark's hand. "You said you didn't know anyone named Nolan," he said, sliding the old badge photo across the table. Mark hesitated too long. I don't." Rourke leaned forward. "Funny, because your phone called his number 3 times in one night." Mark's face went pale. "You don't understand. He said he could help." "Help with what?" "Emma," Mark whispered. "She was going to leave me. He told me he could talk to her, scare her. I didn't think he'd." The room went still. Rourke's voice was calm but cutting. "So you hired a man who pretended to be a cop to scare your fiancée?" Mark buried his face in his hands. "It wasn't supposed to go this far." Rourke stood slowly, anger simmering beneath control. "You're right. It wasn't. But now she's gone." Moments later, a dispatcher burst into the interrogation room, breathless. "Detective, we just got a hit. The black SUV was spotted outside the old ferry dock on Route 17. Engine still warm." Rourke grabbed his coat and radio. Rain slammed against the windows as police units roared toward the docks. When they arrived, the SUV sat half-submerged near the pier, headlights flickering in the mist. The trunk was open. Inside were ropes, duct tape, and an evidence bag marked with the number 3127. But there was no driver. Only a note taped to the steering wheel, written in shaky handwriting. "She's not dead. She's mine." What the river kept. The rain hadn't stopped in 40 hours. River mist hung like smoke over the ferry dock as divers suited up and floodlights burned through the fog. Detective Rourke watched from the pier, jaw tight, coat soaked through. The SUV had already been hauled from the water, mud dripping from its undercarriage like oil. But they hadn't found a body. Not Emma's, not the man with the badge. At 2:13 a.m., the radio cracked. "We got something." The divers surfaced carrying a waterproof case, military-grade, heavy, locked with rusted clamps. They placed it on the dock, water streaming off its sides. Rourke crouched, flipped the latches, and froze. Inside were 8 labeled folders, each with a woman's name and a date. The earliest read Sarah Connors, 2012. The latest, Emma Lawson, 2023. Every folder contained photos, driver's licenses, and in the center, a piece of jewelry. Necklaces, rings, trophies. It wasn't just Emma. It had been happening for over a decade. By dawn, the truth began to take shape. Officer Eric Nolan, presumed dead, had faked his own disappearance after the 2013 corruption scandal. He'd kept the badge, changed his name, and built a new life in the shadows. Somewhere along the way, he started hunting, but one question still burned. How did Mark Walters know him? Rourke confronted Mark again, this time not as a suspect, but as a man caught in someone else's snare. Mark sat slumped in the interrogation chair, eyes hollow. He contacted me first, he muttered. Said he used to work with missing persons. Said he could find out if Emma was seeing someone else. He knew things about her, where she worked, what route she took home. I thought he was helping me. He wasn't, Rourke said quietly. He was stalking her long before you called. Mark's head dropped into his hands. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Rourke left the room with a pit in his chest. Nolan had been one step ahead the whole time, using Mark's jealousy as a trap to get close to his next victim. 3 days later, a tip came from a fisherman near the Tremont River, 30 miles south. He'd found a makeshift shelter deep in the woods, a tarp, a rusted heater, and inside, a uniform jacket with badge number 3127. Next to it lay a disposable phone. Dana Wu cracked the data within hours. The phone had sent one message 3 nights earlier to an unknown number linked to a burner tower near Portland. The text was 6 words. She's alive. Keep her quiet. Wait. Rourke's heart pounded. He ordered a full search of the Tremont area. Dogs swept the forest. Drones scanned from above. At dusk, AK-9 barked near an overgrown trail leading toward an abandoned storm drain. The unit descended, flashlights cutting through the dark. There in the hollow of concrete and roots, they found her, Emma Lawson, weak, dehydrated, but alive. She whispered one thing before losing consciousness. He said he was a cop. Emma spent days in recovery, her memory fractured but her will unbroken. Detectives pieced together her story. Nolan had stopped her on the road that night, flashing the badge. He told her Mark was in trouble, that she needed to come with him. When she hesitated, he injected something that made her dizzy. She woke up in the cabin, the one in the woods. She remembered his voice, calm, almost kind. You're safe now, he'd said. You're the last one. He vanished before dawn, leaving her tied, waiting to be found. Months passed. The case exploded across national headlines. Fake cop serial abductions linked to 10-year corruption case. Mark Walters faced obstruction charges, but it was clear he had been a pawn. Emma became a symbol of survival, testifying from behind a privacy screen as the FBI hunted Nolan across 3 states. Then, on the 1-year anniversary of her disappearance, a small box arrived at the Hawthorne Police Department. No return address. Inside, a single photograph, grainy, printed on the same Polaroid film Nolan used. It showed a foggy bridge over the Tremont River. In the distance, a man in the dark had leaned on the railing, staring at the water. On the back, written in red ink, "You only found what I left behind." Detective Rourke stood at the window, photo in hand, watching the rain fall over the river that had kept so many secrets. Somewhere out there, the man with the badge was still watching.